Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Rahul's YouTube channel. It's me, Rahul. You may know me from being Rahul. And if you guys were watching on Friday's video, I did open Fusion Strike product thanks to the Pokemon Company International. It was a lot of fun. But with that being said, that does mean our official set list is out, with the largest set being this set. I think this is supposed to be the largest set ever. There's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of cards that, I don't know, don't make it really worth opening product. So let me tell you what to buy, because competitive is coming back. And I've got a couple of really spicy picks in here that you guys definitely want to stick around for. I mean, obviously you can just like skip through and like just screenshot what you want. But if you guys are going to enjoy the video, I would really appreciate if you hit that like, subscribe, and leave a comment below if you enjoyed the content. I really appreciate all the support. We're going to keep doing buy list videos like this for every set, as well as a set review, which will come up on Wednesday. So thank you guys for watching, and let's jump right into it. Look at the fun coloring. I love the fun coloring. So let's jump into it. Here are my must-buy cards. My three categories are must-buy cards. The spicy, like, tech, could be good, could be okay, like tier 2, tier 3 cards. And then the please just don't waste your money on these cards. So, like, it's a little bit of a cautionary warning. I'm sure someone will do good with them, and then someone will come into the comments and be like, Rahul, what's wrong with you? But I feel like I should make some of those takes where I'm like, I look at a card and I'm like, why would anyone ever want to play this? And I will eat my words happily if someone makes them work. We're going to start with our... Oh, my webcam is really in the way. Okay. Where do I put myself? I don't know. We're just going to put myself here and then move myself as we go. So we're going to do... Nah, we don't need my webcam. I'm out. Peace, guys. So we're going to do our buy list here. These are the must-buy cards. The first row, we're going to start with Oricorio with the Fusion Strike Oricorio with the Lesson in Zeal ability. All of your Fusion Strike Pokemon take 20 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon after applying Weakness and Resistance. You can only apply one Weakness and Zeal ability at a time. Now, Glistening Droplets, the attack with the 5 damage counters placement, is also really good. So I would suggest buying 2 copies of Oricorio, just because you might only ever play one, but there might be a deck that is so pivotally, so crucial around this card that you need to play 2, just to get one in play in case one is prized. The Fusion Strike deck synergy really revolves around having Fusion Strike Pokemon, and this is one of the best Fusion Strike Pokemon to just play a 1 or 2 copies of, because it'll always synergize and help you draw more cards with Genesect V. Next up, we have our Inteleon VMAX. I went in set order, by the way, for the first 2 sections, and the third one I just kind of threw whatever I thought was good in there. So bear in mind that. Inteleon VMAX is a Rapid Strike VMAX with the Double Gunner ability. You must discard a water energy from your hand to snipe 2 damage counters onto the board. It's very strong. It only applies to bench Pokemon. You can put 2 damage counters on 2 Pokemon with just a single energy card, which is very, very strong. And then Gmax Spiral for Water Colorless does 70 plus 70 if you return an energy card back to your hand. Now, Rapid Strike Energy lets you bounce the energy right back to your hand, giving you a bunch of avenues to play this Inteleon VMAX as a healing deck. You could probably use Sherrills and some other cards to just kind of keep the healing chain going. Octillery gets you everything you need, and you could also play another Inteleon engine. So you can basically play a healing disruption kind of build that's more catered towards, you know, slowly chipping away at your opponent and forcing them to burn a lot of resources. Now, I only put 3 copies of this because most VMAXs, you really only need 3 copies. There's very few where you need to buy a full 4, but I put 3 just because I think you could get away with a 4-3 line of this thing. And if you ever need a fourth copy, just pick it up when you can. If you're safe like me, I'd probably pick up... This is what I'm going to buy. I'm going to buy only 3 copies off the bat. So, yeah. Boltund VMAX is a really cool card. I put this on the must-buy list because I think this card is going to be one of the few reasons maybe Electric is playable, or Lightning type, sorry. Boltund VMAX has Bolt Storm, a very iconic attack that we've seen on Boltund V across the board until now. 30 plus 30 for each lightning attached to all your Pokemon. Now Boltund V has it for 10 plus 30. So this just makes it a little bit better, a little bit power crept up, very strong across the board. And then Max Bolt is just a 230 for 3. So early game, you have a lot of damage coming out from Boltund VMAX if you want it to be so. The fighting weakness is not good, of course, but it gives you a 3-prizer to play in your lightning type deck that maybe just Boltunds. So I put 3 of there. I don't think it's a spicy card. I think if there's any lightning cards that become good, or any single electric card that becomes revealed that's semi-playable, I think this card just becomes an immediate must-have. And I don't think this one will be too expensive comparatively to the Mew VMAXs and other stuff in the set. So I would wait till it gets a little bit cheaper and then snag it. Then we have the Toxels and Toxicity line. The Toxicity has a maximum downer. I put the Toxel specifically because there's 2 of each in the set. So make sure you buy the Fusion Strike ones. Just an FYI, don't buy the other one by accident. Maximum downer, since if all your opponents of all your Pokemon play Fusion Strike, your opponent's VMAX get minus 30 HP. Now, that goes a long way when you're hitting for 210 with Mew VMAX, copying Genesect, and your power tablets can, add up really quickly. So you can maximum downer, or set up a maximum downer with Oricorio. You can use Mew VMAX to copy Glistening Droplets, put damage counters onto the board, then go ahead and evolve into the Toxicity on one turn to maximum downer, and make a big play. And I think if you're playing Toxicity, you're probably playing like a 3-3 line, or at least a minimum of 2-2 line, but I think I'd just buy a 4-4 line just in case you ever need that fourth copy, because this card can't be that expensive. And I would really hate to scramble and try to find a fourth copy at an event. Now, the star of the set, Mew V and Mew VMAX, I will go into more detail in my set review why they're so good, but it's very obvious that the Cross Fusion Strike attack is very, very good to copy any of your bench Pokemon's attacks for Fusion Strike. You have Glistening Droplets to use, you have Latias's attack to use, you have Mew V's attack for Psychic Leap to shuffle it back in, you can copy Mew VMAX's own Max Miracle on the bench to shred, and you can also copy Genesect V's attack for 210, I don't remember what the attack name is called, but Mew VMAX is the poster child of the deck, and so you obviously need a 4-4 line. You could probably get away with a 4-3 line, but I think at any given moment you want to have at least two Mew VMAX in play. So discarding one early and prizing one would make the game really hard, and I don't think this is a deck where you typically would want to play something like an Ordinary Rod. So I would opt to just simply play a full 4-4 line of Mew VMAX because it's very easy to find, and I don't think I'll be playing too many Evolution Incenses and cards like that. So I'd like to draw into them organically because I will be using Genesect to draw a ton of cards. Meloetta is another really cool Fusion Strike Pokemon that has Melodious Echo for 70, or Psychic Colors for 70 damage. For each Fusion Strike Pokemon or energy attached to all of your Pokemon. Now, that means we can cap out at 280 as early as turn 2 with an attachment on turn 1, Alessa's Sparkle on turn 2, and an attachment. Now, we have to get very fortuitous to get all of our Fusion Strike energy at one time, but it does give us an option to one-shot something on the board with 280 damage, especially coupled with Toxicity and our Power Tablets. So Meloetta is a really cool card, and it is a one-prize attacker we can kind of use to offset our Mew VMAXs, because obviously Genesect has 3 attachments that's very deep, and I don't think I want to be putting energy onto an Oricorio. So there could be a turn where when we have 2 Mew VMAXs kind of set up, we can use LS's Sparkle to bring in energy onto Meloetta, kind of set up the board, and have that one prize threat that can do a lot of damage out of nowhere. Now, Gengar V and Gengar VMAX are 2 single-strike Pokemon that are new, kind of left out of the last set, and they're very, very strong. Gengar VMAX has Fear and Panic for 2 Dark Energies 60 times each Pokemon V and GX in play. Now, for your opponents, and that does mean almost every deck plays a lot of V Pokemon, right? So you're doing a ton of damage off the bat, and you can use Single Strike Energy synergy with the Houndoom to kind of get a bunch of energy onto it, and then you have G-Max Swallow Up, where you can't attack that next turn, so you get a big one-shot potential as well. Gengar VMAX's Dark typing is very strong, especially because Mew VMAX is going to be one of the more prominent decks in the format, and having that Dark weakness puts Mew VMAX in check. Now, the fighting weakness does make it really scary to play because Urshifu will take you down. So this card overall is very strong in that capacity, and I think because of the typing, the weakness, and then the ability to pair it with something like Umbreon VMAX in a single strike deck makes it very strong. And you can also use cards like Hiding Darkness Energy to retreat as freely as you want, and kind of pivot and use Umbreon to, do a ton of damage all at once. And you can probably play cards like Karen's Conviction as well to get more damage onto the board. Now, the rest of the must-buy cards are our Genesect V. You have to be using Breakdancing Genesect. I did make the rules, sorry. I'm going to have to, spend all my money to buy it. It has Fusion Strike System ability. Once you're in your turn, you may draw cards until you have as many cards in your hand as you have Fusion Strike Pokemon in play. Now, this is not a once per turn ability, so if you have 4 Genesect in play, you can use 4 Fusion Strike Systems. That is really, really insane for everyone at home. So this card is an automatic 4 of in any Fusion Strike build, and I think it's just a really, really broken card. This is going to be one of the long stay cards, especially if more Fusion Strike kind of cards come into play in future sets. Technoblast is also a really good attack to copy for the 210. That's a very strong number. Obviously, it's like a slightly nerfed Zacian. I think the ability is better, the attack is worse. But as a Mew VMAX player, you just typically will copy the Technoblast and retreat into the other Mew VMAX and Technoblast again. And you can also just use the Mew V to shuffle it back into the deck. Latias, the ability is not great, of course, but Dyna Barrier, the attack that you can copy, does 70, and you can prevent all damage done to this Pokemon from Pokemon VMAX. So if you're up against a mirror match or something like that, you're forcing the Mew VMAX on the other end to use a 130 attack to use the Shred, or you're forcing, because most Shred attacks don't do that much damage, And if they're playing a Pokemon V deck, you're probably okay in most scenarios because Technoblast can just one-shot the V, and if we're like 10 damage short, because 220 is like kind of the 220 and 230, I guess, the limit, but Power Tablet kind of gets you there regardless. So Dyna Barrier definitely buys you some time against Pokemon VMAX decks to kind of set up your board, kind of get the ball rolling, and make them burn a turn without wanting to. Battle VIP Pass is one of the new churn and burn trainers. You can only use this card during your first turn, so it's a little bit unique, but you can get up to 2 basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench. Now, you probably want to play heavy counts of this card simply because you want to open it in decks that can't search it out. If you're playing decks that can search it out, like Fusion Strike that plays Peony, you can use Genesect V to kind of find these cards and dig them out and kind of play with it. Or use cards like Cramomatic in certain decks, but it is a very, very strong card because getting 2 basic Pokemon is pretty much all you need on a turn 1 setup a lot of the time. Especially going first. So it's a very strong card that can kind of act as a pseudo Bridget, but it is a dead card for the remainder of the game, and we don't have that many discard cards. But obviously with cards like Quick Ball and Research in the format, we don't mind playing heavy copies of this card because we can just pitch it later if we need to. And Ultra Ball coming out potentially soon. Cramomatic is one of my favorite cards in the set because it is a funny card. Flip a coin, if heads, search your deck for a... Well, you can only play this card if you discard an item from your hand. Flip a coin, if heads, search your deck for a card, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. So that's just literally a free any card. It's really funny, and it goes really well into Fusion Strike, kind of making you a little more of a high roll deck, but I love it. I think this card can find use in other decks as well. It's simply just how risky do you want to be. It's obviously not the most consistent card, but it is a lot of fun, and I think it could add some element of spice to the game that isn't Crushing Hammer. Cross Switcher is our new Gust effect. You must play 2 Cross Switcher cards at once. This effect only works one time for 2 cards. And switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. If you do, switch your active with one of your bench Pokemon. So it's basically Guzma. And now having to play 2 at once makes it really hard to do. But with cards like Cramomatic, Peony, it becomes a lot better in cards that can dig a little bit deeper. Now we have only Crobat to dig a little bit deeper in this format. So if you're playing Fusion Strike, you have Genesect and the ability to do something like that. Then we have Alessa's Sparkle. Alessa's Sparkle is a Fusion Strike supporter that lets you choose up to 2 of your Fusion Strike Pokemon, and each of them gets a Fusion Strike energy from your deck. Pretty insane. You can power up your entire board in 1 turn. Your Mew can attack as soon as turn 1. Need I say more? Probably one of the best supporters in this set. Power Tablet. Another really good card. Electro Power was broken for the entirety of its lifetime, and Power Tablet will be something similar. During this turn, your Fusion Strike Pokemon's attack to 30 more to your opponent's active Pokemon. Now that's really strong because, well, we can just set up one-shots out of nowhere, especially with 2 or 3 Power Tablets, using cards like Toxicity, using cards like even Dyna Bearing for 100 is really strong. These are turn and burn cards. You know you're going to attack no matter what. So you can keep burning cards to dig further with Fusion Strike system. Just an overall good card. I put Quick Ball on the list because it was reprinted. I should say 4 times, not 3 times. But if you don't have Quick Balls already, I guess buy them. I have my Quick Balls. I've had them for quite a while. But... You should buy Quick Balls if you don't have them. It's very important. And then we have Fusion Strike Energy, which is our special energy of the set. This card can only be attached to a Fusion Strike Pokemon. If this card is attached to anything else, it gets discarded. It's basically a rainbow energy, and it prevents all effects of opponent's abilities done to this Pokemon, which means Inteleon, and probably other stuff. I can't think of stuff off the top of my head, but Inteleon is the big one. And obviously, it is a pivotal part of our Fusion Strike deck synergy. Now, that is the major cards that I think you guys need to buy. If that's all you care about, you can leave. Goodbye. Thank you for coming. I appreciate your time. But spicy cards that could be good is where I kind of talk about a few cards that are on the fence, could be good in a set or 2, and probably can get them for cheap. Serena V, I think, is really cool because obviously Grass has no acceleration, but Queen's Order lets you discard your bench Pokemon, and there's probably some sort of a deck that'll come out where you can like churn and burn your bench and do a bunch of damage. I think buying this card cheap is going to be good. I think this card will be one of the bulk Vs, so you can probably pick it up for $1 or $2. And I think buying something like this when it's cheap is a good investment in a potential future. If it's not, you could probably just get rid of it again at bulk rates. Chandelure VMAX, I think this card can also be really cool. Obviously, there's not that much control, and being water type weak is really bad in a format where Suicune is really strong. So it's not going to be amazing. But Max Poltergeist is a very cool attack, and I think given the right environment and the right like support cards, all it needs is like 1 or 2 more cards to make it a decent deck. But right now it's not strong at all, so I would pick it up on the low. Huntail and Gorbis both have very hate-heavy cards with Single Strike Jammer for Single Strike attacks and Rapid Strike Canceller to get rid of Rapid Strike abilities. But Rapid Strike Canceller isn't that amazing because you already have the Fusion Strike energy to block the pings. And for Single Strike Jammer, I don't think it really matters if Gengar comes into play, because Gengar can kind of already do what they need to do for the 3 energy cost. It makes a lot more sense if Single Strike revolved around the Urshifu and the Umbreon still, because both those attackers need 3 to 4 energy, but the Gengar only needs 2, so adding 1 extra energy makes it not that much more, different for them to play the game. But both these cards could be good in a certain metagame, so I would recommend buying them on the low and kind of having those cards. Now, Basculin with Swarm the Wound is a really cool Rapid Strike attacker, and it does 30 plus 10 for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. So basically, you can kind of G-Max Rapid Flow something and bring this Basculin up out of nowhere and one-shot something with a Rapid Strike energy. I think it's a really good game closer, and it's a lot easier to execute a Swarm the Wound strategy than kind of playing some weird combo. So this card can slot into like any Rapid Strike snipe style deck. The Inteleon VMAX deck with Rapid Strike, this can slot right into Rapid Strike Urshifu, maybe even Sylveon. Like, I don't know, any like, it gives you a water type in Sylveon, other than Octillery, I guess. Wait, Octillery exists, never mind, scratch that. But Basculin, at the end of the day, I think is a really cool one-prize attacker that can slot into these Rapid Strike decks, because you already meet the energy requirement for just 1 attachment, so you can just slam the Basculin, boss something up, and knock it out, especially heading into a closed decklist format. For open decklist, it might not be as strong, but heading into a closed decklist format at like League Cups, Regionals, whatever, taking your opponent by surprise by using Swarm the Wound and just taking a knockout is something they just won't expect a lot of the time in that game 1 scenario, because people kind of overlook cards like this. Now we have Pyukumuku, which has Pitch a Pyukumuku ability. You can basically put it in you can reveal it if it's in your hand, put it at the bottom of your deck, and draw a card. So basically you can do that once a turn with the Pyukumuku, which is just a cycle card. So any deck that revolves around having Altaria, or you need to dig a little bit deeper, Pyukumuku becomes a free card to pitch and draw. And a deck like Suicune, where you don't mind having extra bench Pokemon, it's kind of fine. But I don't think this card is necessarily great, because having it opening the card is not great. It doesn't provide you any ability. It can't get rid of itself from the active. So I think Pyukumuku is like a cute card, but I don't think it's going to be very necessarily playable. Now, I put Lucario V on this list, not because the Lucario V itself is very good, but I think there are rumors of Lucario V-Star coming, and I would strongly believe that Lucario V-Star is one of the V-Stars we will get. So buying this Lucario V for cheap is probably in everyone's best interest, because this is probably going to be one of those bulk cards, especially looking at the card. It's not very flashy in any way, shape, or form. So picking up this card for bulk prices means that I think Lucario V-Star in the future could be really good, really broken, probably a damage-heavy card, and having these early and not having to get them on the spike would be a lot easier. Now, Goodra has Slimy Room. This ability is really cool. As long as this Pokemon's in your active spot, whenever your opponent tries to attach an energy card from your hand to its opponent, they gotta flip a coin. If tails, they gotta discard it. And but this doesn't use up their energy attachment for the turn, so they can keep doing that. But obviously, like, if you can get 1 Slimy Room heads, like every time, you're just kind of really making it hard for them to play the game. It's a really cool control card, and I'm sure Sander will make it work in some capacity. So if control ever becomes big in some capacity, I'm sure Goodra will be the card that makes it happen. So that's why I think buying it on the cheap is a really good card. I don't remember if it's a holo or not, but it probably shouldn't be too bad to buy. Dunsparce with Mysterious Nest, colors Pokemon in play, both yours and your opponents have no weakness. Now, if you are assuming the trend with Lucario V that we talked about already, we already know Arceus V-Star. And that card, I think the biggest gripe with my biggest gripe with that card was that its weakness is fighting type. But if you can take away that weakness with Dunsparce, all of a sudden you have this behemoth that can swing for a lot of energy, and you can kind of play a deck that chains itself, and you're a 2-prize deck that chains yourself, and you have this really cool ability and a really good attack. And yeah, so that's just kind of my logic behind it. I think Dunsparce could make its way into that Arceus V-Star deck, whatever that skeleton will be, whatever we see in the next upcoming set. So I think Dunsparce is it should be like a 2-cent card that you should just pick up, bulk it, hold it. This is like a card you just pull aside from your packs, because I've already pulled like 3 in my box, so I pulled them aside. Yeah. I think Smeargle is also a really cool card. Fusion Strike, the art is beautiful. Sketching trash, put up the 2 Fusion Strike trainer cards from your discard into your hand. Now, I think this card is really good in some sort of a control kind of build. I don't know what would be really good in. Like, we talked about some of the Fusion Strike cards already. I don't think there's that many trainers that are really broken per se. But I think if there's a situation or a scenario that arises with Smeargle, or some trainers being really broken, it would make some sort of a combo deck or like a lock deck very possible. Now, the other spicy cards we've got here are Greed and VMAX. I think Turn of Profit is a really cool attack that you can tech into decks with double colors. If your opponent's basic Pokemon is knocked out by damage from this attack, take 2 more prize cards. Now, that doesn't mean VMAX is yada yada, but things like Sobbles and what else? There's other bench sitters that just exist in this format that you can kind of pick off and like do a lot of damage on if they're not expecting it. So I think Greed and VMAX can slot into a deck like Suicune, where your bench is already fine. Anything that plays an Inteleon engine, because I think you need to get those pings into play. I know Galarian Cursola is like a strategy, but I put that card in the do not buy tier because I think that's just a gigantic meme deck. But I think Green VMAX could be a spicy card, especially in a closed deckless format when you're not expecting it, because all of a sudden you see a Green V hit the board and you have something that's stranded and you can't do anything about it. It kind of feels like ADP situation where all of a sudden you're just kind of screwed. Like all your tempo is gone. Adventurer's Discovery is another cool card, I think. Search your deck for up to 3 Pokemon V. This card initially I thought would be really, really good in something like Eternatus, but I don't think Eternatus is a very good deck right now with Path to the Peak being as strong as it is. But I think this card could be like really strong in something like Shadow Rider, for example, where Shadow Rider on turn 1 just wants to find those 3 Pokemon V. I believe Adventure's Discovery also encompasses VMAXs. I might be wrong on that, but it would be really cool if it did. So you can kind of get those cards, put them into your hand, and like get really like, you know, ball it. Even if it's just 3 Pokemon V, a deck like Shadow Rider or a deck like Single Strike can kind of benefit off that greatly. Maybe not so many other decks. Chili, Silent, and Crass is another cool card. Search your deck for up to 3 Fusion Strike Pokemon, reveal them, put them into your hand. Now, it's just a worse version of the Battle Pass, but if you're playing some sort of a single prize Fusion Strike deck and maybe something that doesn't revolve so heavily around Mew VMAX, maybe you could play like this card, grab your Genesects, grab your Meloettas, something like that, and kind of set up your board. Maybe even play like a 1-of copy to grab your Toxicity line. I could see this being an easy 1-of index, maybe a 2-of, but nothing more than that, unfortunately. Cross Receiver is another cool card where you can play the 2 at the same time. Put a Pokemon or supporter card from your discard pile into your hand. So it's a VS Seeker for 2, which unfortunately is just a little bit too bad because cards like Chatot exist where you can just flip a coin and get that card from the discard. But I think if there's something that's super broken or like a card that says like you don't have to flip, like we saw Cafe Master revealed where it said like we had the Alchemy that says you don't have to end your turn. So maybe something like that where it could be okay. Farewell Bell is a cool tool where it says if your Pokemon VMAX is attached to is knocked out, search your deck for a card, put it in your hand, shuffle your deck. So nothing to write home about, but I think it would be kind of neat if you could do some sort of a combo strategy with this on Farewell Bell. So maybe you could Farewell Bell an Urshifu and like play for a Rapid Strike combo to end the game with a Telescopic Sight later on or on that turn itself. I don't know. I think it'd just be a really cool card to have to make yourself Marnie proof as well. Sydney is another cool card. I think specifically for control, your opponent reveals your hand, discard up to 2 a combination of tools, special energy, stadiums, cards, blah, blah, blah. So eventually when you get a lock up and running, you can start looking at your opponent's hand and shredding cards. Flannery is a really good card for that as well. Flannery, Sydney, these kind of combo out in a way that you didn't normally expect. Skater's Park, whenever and either player's Pokemon retreats, put a basic energy that would be discarded in their hand instead of the pile. Kind of cool. Definitely like in decks like Suicune, maybe decks like if you like playing Suicune, for example, you could retreat, get the energy back, Melanie the other one, and all of a sudden, bada bing, bada boom, your attacker's back to go. It's like a little bit of a better Training Court, but obviously I think Training Court has more versatility. So I think Skater's Park is a cool card, but if you're buying a Stadium, I think just buy 4. They're not that expensive, obviously. So that's my spicy cards. I kind of like rushed through that, but I think I got my point across, hopefully. Let me know, guys. Honestly, just don't buy these cards. I think these are like kind of a worthless investment. If you pull them, cool, just keep them, but I don't think I'm going to ever invest in these. It's a pretty big list. Great Ninja I don't think this card's good. I don't think the Starmie's good. I don't think the Bolton's good. Maybe by 1, if anything, because the other Boltons are strictly better. Electro Bolt's cool, I guess, but I would never buy it. Force Regeneration. It's cool attack again, but it's on the stage 2. It's not great. This Deoxys has a bunch of stamps, but besides that, it's kind of bad. The Dodrio is like terrible. Schoolboy, Schoolgirl are just like garbage cards. This Hoopa V I had a lot of hope for when it first came out, but I just don't think it's like as good as Genesect or anything. Like it's just like strictly probably one of the worst Fusion Strike cards for being something that gives up 2 prizes. Like the benefit has to outweigh the fact that it gives up 2 prizes. I don't think that does that better than Mew or Genesect or any of the other Fusion Strike cards. Crabominable also absolutely terrible. If Destroyer Punch attacked for 2 waters and maybe did like 90 plus 40x on the opposing active, I think I could see it being played. But the fact that it's 90 plus 60, which is insane, to be honest, 90 plus 60x, but it's 3 waters, just makes it really hard to pull off in a single turn. And it's not Rapid Strike or anything, so you can't even abuse any of those stamps. Cinderace VMAX and Rillaboom VMAX are both just garbage cards. This Appleton is just also really bad. 3 energies for 100. You're never seeing play. Excelgor is cool because it can use typing advantage, but again, 3 energy costs for a deck like Fusion Strike is really hard to pull off because your energy acceleration is the LS's Sparkle, which means you can only attach 2 energies in one turn to one Pokemon at most. So And the Ninetales with the byway, the Ninetailed Fox, I don't think you need any fire types that need retreat costs right now. I think it's just eating up too many slots. This Tyranitar V is just vanilla, and it's really bad for what it does vanilla-wise. The Single Strike T-Tar from Battle Styles is just strictly better. Melmetal has Ingot Swing, but there's so many cards that have Shred abilities, and also like there's not that many attackers that have abilities, to be honest. You're playing against a very niche thing, so like a lot of things can just get through it, and I think that just makes the card for three energies is like a lot of commitment again. Latios is just strictly worse than Genesect, and you have to discard 2 energy from the Pokemon. Blue Assist and Red Assist kind of go in tandem as abilities, but the abilities just are not great. Dancer is funny if you go second and you can pull 5 cards for no reason. But again, I think Research going second is just way better. Even a Marnie's probably better. Shauna and Judge are both just strictly worse than Marnie. They're like trying to reprint these options for you, I guess, but like just Marnie in every scenario is way better. But that is the video. Thank you guys for watching the buy list video. I'm going to have a set list review on Wednesday, but that'll encompass a lot of what I've already talked about here with some of the better cards. But that'll be a full set list review, kind of like looking at every single card and being like, maybe, maybe not, like kind of leak up, fun decks, whatever. But this is my competitive buy list video. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe, share with a friend, please, because I really appreciate these kinds of videos doing well because I put a lot of effort into them. And that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on Wednesday for the next video.